tell us how the idea behind Oblivion Versos came about?
Well, you work here, so you better get that one. I don't think anybody can precisely point to one event in their life and say the story come from that particular thing. So we collect the stories as we grow up, as we live. And then in some point you find yourself writing a story and all those experiences come together. But one particular experience I can tell you is that I grew up during Iran-Iraq war. I'm originally from Iran. Hundreds of thousands of people died on both sides, unfortunately. And some of the soldiers' body were never found, so they were missing. And in Iran we had a term for it. It was called mafqud al-asar, which means without a trace. So in my village, the son of our neighbor went missing, and 15, 20 years later, the veteran on the front line, the searching team, found the boot, and they brought it back and said, "This is your son." I clearly remember the day I attended the funeral that all of us knew in that coffin there is only a boot. It was tragic, it was funny, and it was extremely sad. And I saw the mourning of a family, waiting of a family for years. And then I traveled the world, you know, and almost in everywhere I went, this concept haunted me. One of the places that was very particular actually was Canada. The Highway of Tears, if you're familiar with the indigenous women of Canada, have been disappearing for years and years, for decades now. And nothing has been done about it. So it's also the African immigrants who are disappearing in the sea every day in Europe, in Mexico, in the borderline with the United States. By the way, is that, yeah, there's a student of mine sitting there from years ago. Thank you for coming. Thank you, you're very sweet. I can't grade you anymore, but anyway, this concern with missing bodies were always with me, and I found myself years later writing scripts about it. You know, I think I wanted to let it go for myself. I find writing a therapeutical act. I wanted to cure myself. Probably would have been cheaper to go to therapy, as I say, but I end up making a movie.
And a great one at that. Well, speaking of, I will open up the floor to questions to the audience if anybody has any at this point. Yes, down here.
How did the magical realism come to be part of it?
I think main reason is I'm tired of social realism, because social realism has a very strange claim that I, the artist, want to capture the event as it is. Event by no means can be captured in any form. It's always shorter than the actual event. So I wanted to escape from that. Magic realism, as we know it, is a Latin American tradition known by Marquez and the entire Latin American great authors. However, at the same time, almost in every other country, there is an emergence of this format. Writers are flirting with this format, including my country, Iran, and also the folklore of the entire Silk Road from China to all the way to Italy. Nowadays, Italy is full of fantastical elements. So in a way, I grew up with it, and I found it an interesting form to create a mirror in front of a reality. I didn't want to claim I can capture the tragedy as it is, you know, because there is a difference that you witness a mother crying loud saying, "I sent a son, they brought back a boot." However you do it in a movie, it doesn't tell the story, it doesn't do the justice. And I didn't want to have that claim. It's easier to show a whale flying in the sky and audience believing it than showing the tears of a mother. I didn't want to do it. I was too scared to do it. So that's why I took shelter in magic realism. It was a shelter for me.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with your work, but
It's the first one. Nobody's familiar.
I'm blown away. And it was a beautiful film. Thank you. Why did you choose a story that takes place in? Are you? I think it takes place in Chile. I missed the first part of the film.
It never says anything. We never know. Even if you're familiar with the Spanish accent, any Spanish accent here? Anybody speaks Spanish here? Great. I think some of you noticed that there are different accents in the film. The protagonists speak very thick Spanish from Spain, and then we have Chilean who eat a lot of words, and then we have Argentinian who are like an Italian accent, you know. And they have a Peruvian accent. So even for the audience from Spain, from Spanish language, I didn't want them to be able to particularly say, this movie is situated in this geography. Because I was again afraid that they say, oh, this is a problem of Chile. Oh, this is a problem of Venezuela. It's not a problem of Venezuela or Chile only. It's Canada's problem too. So I was trying to escape the geography and escape the time, you know.
So why the Spanish language? What drew you to it? I love the language, but
Me too. I think it's very close to my mother tongue in terms of possibilities that provides for poetry. You know, it's very beautiful language. I fell in love with the language even though I do not speak it. And I have to say, one of the major literature that formed my understanding of poetry was Federico Garcia Lorca, with a very famous poem, A Requiem for Ignacio, at 5 in the afternoon. I read that poem in Farsi by a great translator, and I knew this is a beautiful language. So partially it was a Spanish. Another reason was I was looking for a country that has great actors, because it was very important for me that all the second roles are very well done. I was looking for a very particular symmetry, and we went to many, many countries looking for this. I am an expert of cemeteries, if anybody needs advice. Believe me, I know the most beautiful cemeteries in the world. You know, all of them, including the prices, if you are. And I found that in Chile. Plus, it was a European co-production minority. It has a set of rules. The country must have signed this co-production minority deal. Chile was one of them. And they accepted me and my story as one of their own. I was not a stranger. I mean, imagine somebody coming to your land to tell a story about you. It's not easy to accept that. You know, even where I come from, Iran, probably would be a lot of controversy. Oh, who is this stranger to tell my story? Chilean accepted me like an adopted son. And that was so beautiful and touching. And I said, this is it, that's where we shoot the film.